Hi everybody, Scott Bailye. It gives me great pleasure to be sharing with you today as a Muk guest educator. We're going to be working with Gav. Basically what we're going to be doing here is going in for a slight skin fade in the back and sides, working through to what would be predominantly a slightly longer cut on the sides as a 3. This is where the cut will change. It will be cut from the back in a slightly different technique. It's cutting shorter through to longer in order to preserve the fringe but also take some weight out of the top. As most hairdressers are predominantly used to cutting this way, in this technique, we're going to be using something called a channel cut, which works across that way and takes the weight out of the top of the head, which is what we need to be working on. We're also going to be taking in a slight line in the sides, keeping the whole shape accentuated through so it's cleaner, but leaving a lot of length on the top. In terms of working with products, we'll be working predominantly with the Fat Muk Mousse, and then we'll be working in with a paste afterwards to do a nice finish with some spray also. It's great to be a guest educator, sharing techniques by using Fat Muk Mousse. The nice thing with this is now most of you will probably be thinking, oh yes, we've used this before in this technique. It's not the way I'm doing it. It's a little bit different, and the reason I say that is because you've got the comb, the golf ball size, and it's applying it to the hair this way. Clean, and it gives you a chance to not waste any products, but I'm also going to use this technique to share with you so I can get these lines clean. Most people will put sectioning patterns in with a cutting lotion or without, but I actually do prefer using a cutting lotion, so I just think to share this is good. So we'll start with a horseshoe section. So sectioning patterns on this haircut are really important. We're going to do a horseshoe section, working from the parting on the other side. This predominantly separates the hair, keeping it nice and clean, so I'm working from the recession area, going through the parietal ridge, through to the upper occipital bone. So now I can bring this through. Again, the good thing with the Fat Muk Mousse is it keeps everything nice and clean and tidy. As I always say, clean sections, clean haircut. So you can see that separates that quite beautifully. I'll just drop your clip in. Now as we're working round, some of you will work from the left if you're left-hand cutters. So just do this and then we'll get into the cut. Just keeping everything nice and clean. So you're thinking about drawing the shape of a horseshoe section through the top as you're doing it. Keeps everything clean and tidy. So as we're coming through now, just get the parting in. Just keeps everything nice and clean. And there we have a horseshoe section. Hi, so I've been working the sections around with my fingers, which you can see that the thumb is predominantly leading. The idea is we're working the weight line as we're coming around here, because predominantly there is weight below the parietal ridge. So as I'm now going to come back around here again, we're removing weight off and making sure that everything is balanced perfectly to enable us to go in with the clippers or scissor over comb, which I'll do later, and then we'll come in through the top in a moment. Sharing is caring, very important now. We're going to be working from the apex, taking this shorter, coming through to the front when predominantly people generally would work, hairdressers would come this way. We're going to use something called channel cutting, which will start from where the parting is and work across towards me, which enables me to remove the weight comfortably through here, as opposed to over directing it and pulling it back. I can actually see the whole section in one viewing plane, which makes it easier for me to do it and then just cross check afterwards. And it's also to remember one important thing when you're doing this, the arm acts as a mechanic, which is really important. So the more you pull your arm down, the more the angle goes up. It's really important, because if you did forward, obviously it will go forward. So you need to be thinking about your body position, where you're standing, and cutting to the second knuckle, because of course, as some hairdressers know, we cut our fingers, discipline on the second knuckle, which is where the most amount of tension is, really important. Hi, this is what started the product, originally the family. Hard muck. So we're now going to use hard muck to blow dry into the hair. You may think to yourself, why am I going to blow dry this into the hair? Good question. The important thing is that it allows me to A, see the shape, B, act as a styling lotion. So if somebody was to come to me and say, as they do, I don't want any products in my hair, I don't want to see any product, apply this first, blow dry it in. The support is in the hair, and you don't need to finish it off with anything else. But I also like just to see the finish, so I can get that what I need and then add more to it later on. Great tool to use, Muk Hairdryer, perfect every time. Here comes a top tip for you. So when you blow drying quiffs, I generally try and think to myself, sometimes it's quite difficult to get a quiff in there, so this is something that I've kind of worked on as I'm working on it. So it's really left, right, and left again, and then you'll notice I use the technique of the brush. Ideally it's like a vent brush. Use that, as you can see, you aggravate the roots, which then gives it more lift, and you take the brush off it as it exits the hair, gives it more lift. It's a bit like a truck and trailer that you have to work together, and then you kind of get that lift out of it. You may have your own techniques. This works perfectly for me. Hello, hi. So, scissor over comb, really important. Classic 1950s scissor over combing. I tend to like to do this on gents, so imagine there's an invisible shape coming through below the occipital bone. So I generally work with a wider part of the comb to a thinner part, just working that through, and then I'll put the clippers in and do the fade. So again, it's personal choice, but I think it just looks quite natural. That's why I'm working this technique. really important part of the haircut now, we're going to cut a line through the top. Generally, I tend to use this with clippers. I like the walls, they're quite a big thing to use to get that line in, so keeping the blade really close together, you've got to be really steady on this. So I do this one or two techniques. The reason I'm sharing this with you is most people would literally put a line like that. I tend to do this, score the line, and then you'll see me rock the blade left and right or slightly up and down to make the line even whiter. Hi, this technique, two techniques I'm using here, some of you may have seen never before. It's like a slicing technique, just taking a bit more extra weight out if I feel visually that it needs to be removed. The other technique was you saw me come through, or you will see me come through with the thinning scissors, opening, closing as I'm bringing it through. All that does is makes the quiff stronger and stand up, but removes weight behind it, so it tends to just hold it up a lot stronger for me. It all started with hard muck, so we're going to finish with hard muck on this. So great product to finish off. I can run this through the hair, run it through the quiff, and give Gavin hair that wonderful, nice matte finish. Tiny amount to apply. Again, I find this product is so easy and so great to use. Model has to look cool. We're finishing off with the brand new hair lacquer. Should apply a tiny amount to the comb from a distance. Et voila, you have a man's short haircut. Thank you very much.